Hello guys, Steven Dax here. Welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about some of the tickers that happened this week, and I also experienced some of the very strange actions from the market. So I selected in total of 4 tickers, and I'm going to talk about some of the common factors that I shared during this week. So we will be able to figure out a potential edge or how to really react without taking multiple losses in a row. So before I get into this video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe, and I will appreciate that. And let's get into the video. So out of those 4 tickers, I'm going to point out some of the easy factors for you to recognize, especially during the morning, so you will be able to prevent all those mistakes from happening, especially in the first 30 minutes after market open. Let's look at EVK, LIZI, and HGSH, PPSI. All of those 4 tickers traded over 10 million shares in the pre-market, and some of it traded over 20 million shares in the pre-market. We talked about this volume estimation before, that you are using the pre-market volume times 10 to estimate the entire day volume, and that's how you really predict and to see if the stock is going to get crowded or not during the day. For PPSI, HGSH, all of those tickers, they traded over 10 million, and I think LIZI traded over 20 million, so this one's the most crowded. Let's start with the first one, EVK. This is after our gapper, went from 2 to 7, it opened around 6. And let's look at the entire yearly chart. We have resistance close to 120 million, around 6. But if we look at the intraday chart, there's no consolidations. It's just a pure parabolic resistance and infinite dump chart. When you can't find consolidations for you to risk off, it's going to be a little dangerous, especially you're shorting into a massive resistance. In this case, for this ticker, I didn't get shares to short, but if I did get shares to short, I think I could take a decent loss on this one, because for me, 100 million resistance is a solid amount of resistance. If I short, risking the 6.7, and I will probably take a loss once it breaks through the $630 area. But after that, I consolidated, traded over 100 million throughout the day, then eventually broke it down. One of the things that I noticed is for these type of very crowded ticker, and after the morning squeeze, they don't usually drop the average percentage that I expect them to. So in this case, EVK dropped it only 50%, but you see that normal gap up short drops over 75% or lower than that. So when you are looking at the chart, that the stock didn't really fade the ideal point that you expected, it's a potential to short into the next day. So for EVK, I was looking for a little push and potentially get to the low 6 or the mid 6 to short into, but turns out it didn't really give me the push in the morning, so I kind of just let that one go. But usually when you see this type of crowded ticker, this is the only one sample that I saw out of hundreds of samples that they produced a squeeze like that. So that was a really strange morning spike. And how to really manage your risk, I would say that if you're using the resistance, if you're really close to the resistance as a risk to short into, then I would definitely risk where you entered so that you can avoid this type of loss, or you can keep it to the minimum. So in the next ticker, I'm going to talk about LIZI. This one traded over 20 million shares in the pre-market. And I already noticed that in the pre-market, I also shorted it around 4.7, which I kind of broke my rule because I tend to avoid these type of very crowded ticker that trades over 200 million shares a day. But if you look at another 100 million resistance, very similar to EVK, but it's more crowded compared to that ticker. So you can see pretty much every single ticker that trades over 20 million shares or 10 million shares, they always produce some very unpredictable squeeze, especially during the consolidation. So EVK did a squeeze, LIZI did another squeeze, and slow grinded forced people to buy the breakout and dumped after the breakout. So that was a long trap as well. Then HGSH, this one also traded tons of volume in the pre-market, weird squeeze after open. PPSI, same thing, very solid resistance back in the days, almost 300 million, but it's still it did multiple squeeze during the day. So all of those 4 tickers, the conclusion will be that when you are trying to short into these type of heavy resistance, if the stock gets really crowded, always wait until after 10:30. I would recommend for that, especially that for the crowded tickers, it is not ideal to short at open, even though when you are very close to the resistance. So the second factor that they commonly share for those 4 tickers is 3 out of 4 tickers, they faded in the afternoon only. For LIZI, dump, then faded into the next day. PPSI dumped, well, this one didn't produce enough range, so it dumped, it lost 75% from the high. But for LIZI, EVK, as I said, majority of these type of gainers, they drop 75% from the high. So let's point it out where the 75% is. So if you look at the 75% reward will be, so this is the high, drop 75% will be anywhere between 3.5 into this consolidation. Same thing with LIZI, 75%, if you zoom out the chart, right about here. This is how you really figure out if the stock has a potential opportunity to short into the next day if it didn't fade to the maximum reward. So in this case, EVK, LIZI does have potentials into the next day, but HGSH and PPSI doesn't. So this is how you figure out if there is a decent amount of reward into the next day. And also when you are looking at the chart action, you can see that there's some of the factors they share most of the time. And also I should give you a decent idea where you should size it in and at what time. There's sometimes you have to avoid, especially for the first 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So that will be all of the details that I figured out this week, trying to adapt to the market. Personally, for me, it's not a great week. I should definitely caught, well, majority of those opportunities, but turns out I got too rushed into the entry and took some losses and made some small gains. Hopefully that I will be ready in the next week. So no matter how many years you're in the market, you're always trying to adapt. So for you guys, please don't forget to check out the details on the stocks, and that will be end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.